Good evening and welcome to another edition of In Focus. I'm your host, Josh Croup. Tonight we talk with a sophomore cinema student who is preparing to screen a film he recently completed about the life of a fallen Marine sergeant. Join us as we talk with Randon Bopp about his documentary titled The Unforgotten Hero. That's coming up next, only on In Focus. Good evening once again. This is In Focus, and I'm Josh Croup. We're joined right now by a sophomore cinema student. His name is Randon Bopp. Is that correct, Randon? Randon Bopp. That's a great name. I love it. It just rolls off the tongue, Randon. So let's get to know a little bit about you. Who is Randon Bopp?
Who am I? Well, I'm a sophomore at Point Park, and I've done some local films in Pittsburgh, short films, that is, and currently I'm doing some work for the Stickers, which is a local country band. So
What do you do with the band?
What do? I take photos and I do video. I actually directed their first music video. We're doing a final cut real soon, and that'll be up on their website and everything.
Oh, we'll look forward to that. That's some outside of the classroom work. Let's talk about the inside the classroom work. What have you liked or disliked so far about Point Park Cinema program? Do you like it?
Yeah, I love Point Park. We get to use great equipment. We have the F5s, which is like a crazy camera. It's pretty much movie quality that Hollywood uses. And the professors are great. We get learn a ton of stuff from them, and it really helps out with just every film that I've done.
When you were trying to decide what school to go to, what made Point Park stand out?
Well, I knew they were on the top of the list for film production, and that was a big kickstart for me. And I also knew that there's professors that were in the professional world doing what I wanted to do. So I thought, hey, that's a great way to start off.
And we get a lot of people at Point Park from the area. Are you from the Pittsburgh region or are you from out of state?
I'm from Pittsburgh. Well, on the outskirts. I'm from Baldwin, so
okay.
Not too far at all.
So Baldwin High School graduates now at Point Park.
Actually, I didn't go to Baldwin. I went to Winchester Thurston, which is in Shadyside.
Interesting. Okay.
So.
Well, so far, if you had to describe your Point Park experience in one word, what would it be?
I mean, amazing. That's the word I would use, I guess.
And you're getting a lot of work inside the classroom and outside of the classroom. The documentary that we're going to discuss further, is it something that was required for a class, or did you do it because you wanted to do it?
This was something that I just wanted to do, so.
And the documentary is about a fallen U.S. Marine sergeant. Tell us a little bit more about him.
Ryan, he was, as what I know, I never met the guy, but he was an outgoing, great guy, personality-wise, and just an all-around person. He loved his family, he loved his friends, and just one day he realized, hey, I should join the Marines. And he served for them, and he died as a Marine. So he was a dedicated, hardworking guy.
And you said you didn't know Ryan. How did the idea to do this documentary come about?
It was actually a friend of mine. We met his wife. His wife is friends with my friend, and so we met them, and we went to her house one time, and I saw all Ryan's awards on the wall, and I kind of just asked her, oh, is your husband a Marine? And she said he was, and we just went off from there. And then I asked her if we could do a story about his life, and she agreed to do it.
That's really incredible, and especially because you just wanted to do it because you wanted to do it. How long did it take you from that first meeting with her until the finished product?
It took about 9 months. I'm making DVDs now, so I mean it's a year doing that, but 9 months from shooting it to editing it.
And there's a trailer with this movie. How much does the trailer give us a look into the actual film itself?
I made the trailer so it didn't give away too much, but it definitely showed who Ryan was and also what you're gonna see in the film, that kind of mood set.
Well, Randon, we're going to take a look at that trailer right now. Check it out only on In Focus. We'll be back to talk a little bit more with Randon later.
I can honestly say that I had the time of my life with Ryan. In high, in sight, he taught me how to live my life to the fullest, to appreciate everything, and make the best of every situation. Ryan, you can hang up your boots, you can put down your gun. Your mission is complete. On behalf of a grateful nation, I say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I miss you every day, and I love you. At the end of the day, when it's my turn to go, if I can look at myself in the mirror and be half the man Ryan was, I will consider it to be a success and be able to rest easy knowing I gave it my all.
And the trailer didn't give away too much, but the music in the background and the narration and it seems like a really powerful documentary. When you were trying to put this together, what kind of format were you looking for the documentary?
Well, I didn't want the typical documentary style. I wanted something different. It turned out to be a little like all the documentaries you see, but I wanted a serious but a mood that gets people engaged in this person only. So it was a challenge to do that, but I think I pulled it off well.
You said you talked to Ryan's wife. Did you speak to any of his other family members?
Yeah, I spoke to, as you said, the wife, his mother, his father. I spoke to a couple of Marines who served with him, and then his brothers.
And being a Marine is no easy task whatsoever. The training that has to go in just to get into the Marines is intense.
Exactly.
Did you get the vibe when you talked to his friends about Ryan that he was like an intense guy that really loved the Marines, or was he somebody who just loved his country?
He definitely loved being in the Marines. Yeah, I would say he also loved his country, and he, like I said, he was dedicated to his work. So when he was in the battle, it was all work. When they're on their downtime, he still had fun with life as well.
What were some things that he liked to do on his downtime?
On his downtime, honestly, I'm not too sure about that. But I mean, he loved hanging out with his friends. There's tons of pictures that I've seen with him just having a good time with his friends, whether it was like, if he was on leave, he would be with his family, but if it was in the Marines, he was having fun with the Marines as well.
Earlier I asked, who is Randon Bopp? Who is Ryan Lane? If someone would say that to you right now, how would you describe him to them after never having met the guy, but experiencing the stories that you had from his family members and friends?
I would say Ryan is a down-to-earth, very dedicated, hardworking guy, and he just loved what he did, and sadly he left us early.
Do you know how he passed away in battle?
Yeah, it was shrapnel hit him in the side, and it punctured his lungs, and they took him on a helicopter. They got his lungs working again, but whenever he got to the base, I believe it was the base, they said that he just passed and the lungs just quit working on him.
And when about did this happen?
This was in 2009. I'm blanking on the date. I want to say July, but I don't know why. I'm not thinking of the date right now. But
do you know where he was?
He was in Afghanistan. It was like a castle area. What I was described, they said it was like a mud castle area, but that's what.
If you had the chance to talk to Ryan, what do you think you would say to him today?
Honestly, I think I would just, if I knew him and I could talk to him, I would just thank him for what he did as a Marine, because I'm a real big military person and I love what all military do. I think it's great. So I would thank him for that, and I would just love to hang out and just talk to him for a day.
And you said you're a big military person. Was that Is that a family thing, or when you were growing up, you were just interested in the military?
It's a little bit of both. Both my grandfathers served. One was in the Air Force, one was in the Army. And then as I grew up, school wasn't a thing that I was really good at. And if I didn't get into college, I was going to join. But I ended up getting to Point Park, so I decided to take that path. And we'll see later on, I may join, but if things go well with film, then I'll stick with that path.
What branch of the military would you join if you could pick any of them?
I would probably pick what my grandfathers did, either Air Force or Army.
And you want to do film as a career. What aspect of filmmaking do you want to get into?
Either directing or cinematography. I like to always be behind the camera and kind of directing people of what to do.
And for this documentary, you weren't just the cinematographer or the director. You said you wanted to do this on your own. So did you do everything for this film, or did you have some help from friends or classmates?
I did have help, but we were like a really small crew, so I did a lot of the work. I was director, producer, and editor, but I had help, and without that help, it would have been probably pretty disastrous on my part, but so I thank them for their help and everyone who helped out.
When you were editing the film, because you were the editor as well, right?
Yes, that's correct.
When you were editing the film, what was going through your mind when, because it's one thing to interview a person, but then to go back and watch it all and put in pictures and video clips of his life. We saw a couple home videos in the trailer. What was that like, going through and almost reliving his life on a screen?
It was definitely a different experience. I think that's how I really got to know Ryan, is from all the videos and pictures. And it almost felt like I did know him, but I didn't. And it was hard watching interviews because there was times where I was filming and they're crying, and I have to sit behind the camera. You just have to let that roll. That's movie magic, but for a human, that's something you want to go comfort them. And seeing that on the edit, it really emotionally got to me, even though I've seen it so many times editing it. But I think just editing, you get to know the person and you really feel the emotion that goes through the film.
It seems like his family and his friends were very open with you as far as the interview process went, because you said their emotions really showed on camera. How much would you say his family was supportive of your efforts to kind of encapsulate his life in one documentary?
They were very helpful. Even like nowadays, we're pretty close. They kind of, not that I'm family and not that they treat me like the family, but you feel a part of their family, and it's something that I feel will go on forever just from this interview, and they got real comfortable with who I was and what I was doing for them.
You sort of have that family type of connection with them now. And again, in the trailer, we saw some of the home video footage. How did you go about getting that, and how much of that did they give you to sort through?
There was a lot of footage. I believe I had about 4 hours of like home video and stuff to go through. They were willing to give me anything they could find. Friends of his also from, I believe it was Maine, they sent me videos, so I got a lot of videos just from everyone.
How did you decide what to put in the film and what to not put in?
That was probably one of the hardest things. What I did, I basically just broke it up, and I found the parts that I really wanted in the film, and I scattered them around, and I created my own story after that. It was tough, but there was no real set direction of, oh, I'll put this here, I'll put that there. It was kind of, okay, I like this, that seems like it would be a beginning, threw it in there, and then added pictures and videos that would help transition those shots.
When you were trying to decide what goes into the film and what doesn't, how do you think it benefited, or even maybe didn't benefit you, being an outsider? You weren't a family member. Maybe the film would have looked a little different if it was one of his brothers or cousins editing the film.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Being an outside perspective, it helps give a broader perception of Ryan, and it gets to know him better because I never knew him, so I'm like, oh, okay, I need to put this in so everyone else can understand who Ryan was. Or if it was a family member, they'd be like, oh yeah, everyone should know that about Ryan, but in reality, the whole picture, no one would know that. So,
what do you think something that everybody should know about Ryan is?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of an example from the film because, well, he denied a Purple Heart, and it was something that it wasn't huge to the family because he had shrapnel in his hand. And yeah, it's a big deal that, you know, you deny a Purple Heart, but to them, and the way he put it, like Ryan, he said, oh, it was no big deal. I just got shrapnel in my hand. Everyone, that's not a big deal compared to what others have. So I guess that's more important to me and others than like the family because of the way maybe Ryan said it to them, like, oh no, don't worry about it. I just had a little scrape or something, you know.
And not everybody gets offered a Purple Heart, and for him to turn that down, that really says something about his character. Do you think he got a lot of his character from his family when you talk to them? Do you get the same vibe from them as you think you would from him?
Yeah, definitely. You can see a lot of his family put into Ryan. Like, they're pretty identical, nice family, they're outgoing and everything, and that's how I see Ryan being.
Describe his wife to me. She was the one that got this whole thing started. What was she like to talk to, and how did she connect to Ryan?
She was really close to Ryan. They were friends through high school, and she was really good with the interviews. It was the first time she actually ever did an interview for cameras about Ryan, and you could just tell that they were really close, and it was hard for her to talk about it for the first time, but she even told me after, she goes, it was good to get the emotion out. It's been a while, she said. It's been 5 years, so she said it felt good to actually get it out for once and kind of tell people about it.
I can imagine that they're all very excited to see it. When can we expect to see this? We saw that it's going to be screened April 11th. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Where, when, how are we going to be able to see this film?
It will be premiering at Point Park, as you said, April 11th. 7 o'clock is for family and friends. That's at night. And then 8:30 is to the public. So anyone's free to come, 8:30, April 11th.
And you said him and his wife were best friends in high school. What high school did they go to? Were they closer to you? Did they go to the same high school as you?
They did not. They went to Carrick, and they're in like their 30s. Like, she's in her 30s now, so we are far from age, about 10 years. But yeah, they went to Carrick High School, and that's where they met.
What kind of connection and bond do you think that she had with him when you talked to her? What kind of vibe did you get from her that she had, the kind of feelings that she had for him?
I think it was a feeling of what all of us have as a best friend. Like, my best friend is a feeling we would, I don't know, I feel like that's the same connection they had, and they thought, oh, let's just take it to the next step. But it wasn't like, I don't know really how to describe that, but I would just say really best friends, and they just end up getting married.
What is one thing that you wished you knew going into this whole process that you didn't know before you set foot in her house to see all of the pictures and the artifacts from him?
Well, I think it would have been good to know, well, not good to know, but like, when I went in, I thought this guy was still alive, so it was kind of like, hey, what are these awards about? And I think going into that, knowing that he had passed already, would have helped a little and made me less awkward, if you want to say, whenever she was like, oh, well, he was killed in action.
What kind of feedback are you hoping to get from this film?
Honestly, I just want people to realize the reality of war and what really goes on. I think a lot of people not disrespect, but they're against war and like, oh, why are people fighting? But if you realize they're fighting for our country and some are giving their lives for our country, it's a big thing.
And what's one thing that was probably the most difficult for you before you started the film, during the film, and after the film when you were doing post-production?
Well, before the film, it was definitely organizing when to interview and what time and all that. I'm not a great producer, but I had to. That was the hardest. During, like I said, whenever you're interviewing and they start crying, I automatically want to go over and be like, oh, it'll be okay, don't worry. but as I said, it's movie magic, so you got to let that go. Post-production, editing was definitely a challenge for me. I'm not the greatest editor, and to not have a script to go off of to edit this was a challenge for me.
And in your future, do you want to stick with cinematography or directing, or what other types of film would you like to focus on moving forward?
Honestly, anything that I can get my hands on for a job, I'll be fine with that. I've done lighting and things like that, so I'll do whatever comes to me.
What's probably your dream job or your biggest future goal that you have in mind right now?
My dream job changed. At first I wanted to make these huge movies, direct them, but I really got into directing music videos, and I think I would love to have a career as music video director.
Well, Ryan, this is a great film and a really great thing for you to do, to produce this whole thing for not only your portfolio in the future, but for his family. It must mean an incredible, it must mean a really big lot to them. Thanks for joining us and talking with us a little bit about Ryan's life. Join us next time on In Focus as we talk with another student about a film he or she is working on. I'm Josh Croup. That's Randon Bopp. Thanks for joining us on In Focus. Have a great evening.